I would rather see it done at the state level.
I would concur. I would like to see it done at the state level. I mean, we have the ability to do an educational enhancement millage, which we tried last spring, and that didn't go too successfully for us. We have a special education millage that's coming up this spring, and we hope that goes through because, as I talked about the $11.5 million, what I neglected to mention is that if this renewal does not go through this spring, that will be another $2.1 million hit to the Ypsilanti Public Schools, as well as a hit to all of the other school districts in the county. Then we also have the ability to pass a bond. The problem with this approach is that it could be a hit or miss, as Senator Warren4 mentioned, that we're going to have some communities, they will vote it up, and some communities will vote it down. And I think that will further create inequities throughout the state that just won't be good for our state in the long or the short run. So I would definitely be in favor or think that this is a bigger statewide issue and a statewide problem that they need to address. Even though we have the ability for some of these, I think it's short-sighted to just totally rely on that.
Well, let me put a plug in. My wife and I are the parents of 2 autistic children, so we certainly support the special education millage that's coming up in Ypsilanti and our place in Ann Arbor. I also support what Mayor Schreiber says about the statewide tax. I agree with you, Mayor, that it would be much easier, constitutionally be very difficult to create a progressive tax. I still think that's the way to go long term. I think in the near term, your suggestion of increasing the tax rate by 1%, though not very fair because it's a flat tax rate. I think that should always be done with an adjustment to the exemption. Because if you just, again, a flat tax rate is not fair to people of lower income. And very few states have a flat income tax. And so I think if it was done with an exemption to make it less flat, so to speak, I certainly do support that idea in the short term.
I agree with my fellow panelists. I think we live in a great state and we pay taxes, and I think it's the state's responsibility to allocate those resources to our schools, to low income, and not to businesses necessarily, when those on the backs of the working low income and seniors. So I agree with my other panelists.
I got a number of questions about recalling the governor. Fall into the theme of how do we do it, when can we do it, and do we support it? So I'm going to start with how can we do it? State law says that 6 months into a term and 6 months before the end of the term, our public elected officials are not subject to recall. So we have to wait 6 months into his term before he would be eligible to be recalled. And then it takes petition signatures from a percentage of the folks who voted in the 2010 gubernatorial election, and they have to come from all across the state. So we couldn't just get enough signatures here in Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti and the broader Washtenaw County area. We'd have to get a few in all the congressional districts around the state and submit those. There's a 180-day window to collect those petition signatures from the first day you start collecting them until you've collected enough to put it on the ballot. And then there will be a special election, and the governor would be subject to recall. So, panelists, do we support recalling the governor? Do we have thoughts about recalling the governor?
My thought is that it's not just the governor. We have a lot of Republicans in the legislature. The governor has a lot of support. He's doing things that a lot of his other legislators, Republican legislators, would like to do. Senator Warren, could you give us some of the demographics of the Senate and the House? How many Democrats there are in the Senate? How many new legislators there are in the House? Could you give us that?
I sure could. So there are 38 members of the Michigan Senate. 26 of them are Republicans, 12 of them are Democrats. 4 of them are women, 2 Republican, 2 Democratic women. We have In the House, we have 110 members, 63 are Republicans, 47 are Democrats, 61 of them are brand new.
So that gives you an idea. These people they're new to the state legislature, and they may be new to the issues that we're talking about tonight. My fellow panelists here, we're in the trenches. We're the ones that are delivering services to you, whether it's school, education, or services like public safety. And I think we need to be heard. And you need to be heard. So I think it's not just about recalling the governor, it's about getting your message out, talking to your neighbors, and contacting, first of all, find out who your representative is, find out who your senator is, and start letting them know what you think, and tell them that we need a change.
You know, I gotta concur. I think this is bigger than the governor, because you see this also popping up in other states. So I think this is really a push or a call to people to get involved in the legislative process, and this is more than just a recall of the governor, but we really need to make our voice known. And I think a lot of times in public education, we tend to be maybe our own worst enemies, in the sense that we quietly go about trying to do our jobs without causing a lot of ruckus or complaints about how bad things are. But we're at a point, in the K-12 system, we're at a point where we cannot stand quiet any longer, because we cannot continue to invest this poorly into our children and say that that's okay. So I think this is bigger than just a recall of the government.
Recall is a very expensive proposition. I would prefer Senator Warren's idea earlier of supporting a constitutional ballot change on the progressive income tax. I think that would do us better, do us more good in the long term to do along the lines the three panelists are talking about. I still think more important than anything else, 2012 November is not that far away. That's when the state legislative races are. A lot of us stayed home in November of 2010, apparently. We didn't vote. I can't accuse all of you of not voting, but a lot of people who normally would vote didn't vote. Barack Obama won the state of Michigan by almost 20 points in 2008. Then in 2010, Rick Snyder wins the state by almost 20 points. How does that happen? And we just have to get out there and vote and support and work together for candidates who can support the issues that all of us are talking about tonight. And I think with a lot of focus on the people Senator Warren just talked about, the new people in the legislature, letting them know that the policies they're espousing are not policies that are right for the state of Michigan.